you feel the peace in here? It's sweet. Nice feeling. We love it when you come here, Brian. Thank you so much. All the way from, I came 20 minutes, he came all the way from Los Angeles. But it's my pleasure to introduce Brian today. I went to Brian's website here, and I found an interesting interview here that you had on your website. Brian in 2007 went to this spiritual retreat in Austin, Texas, and it was a life-changing experience. He felt this overwhelming sense of love and peace, and it changed his life, and it kind of put him on I think it started you on a real strong spiritual. Then the next year, 2008, Brian visited New York City to meet go to a retreat with a spiritual teacher named His Holiness Shri Swami Purna Maharaja. And don't know if I butchered that or not, but you were saying that when you went into the bookstore where he was giving this talk, before you went in, you felt this overwhelming sense of love and peace, and you knew you had found your guru. And that began that really took you to another level. In 2012, 4 years later, his guru asked him to get on the road. He had a very successful financial planning business, and says, time to give that up and get on the road and basically be a wandering sadhu. And that's what he did. And he got a van, put a bed in it, and started traveling around the country, going from one spiritual center after another, kind of like this center here. And that was been your life, I think, ever since. And in 2015, a woman named, let's see here, Satya Vandekloot, owner of the Soul Center in Los Angeles, asked Brian to start giving regular meditations there and retreats. And you've been doing that ever since, on several nights a week, and on Saturdays going there and giving a talk and leading everybody in satsang. Anyway, Brian, one other cute thing here is Brian's mother said, when he said, I'm going to go, he told her what he was going to do, she says, how are you going to survive? You're going to starve. I don't want my boy to be hungry. And he said, the universe will take care of me. And he did. And ever since then, that's the way it's been. I gave a talk here a couple of weeks ago about St. Francis of Assisi, and it was the exact same story. He just gave up everything for God. And he's been living that life since. So with that long introduction, Brian, we'd like to welcome you. Come on up and share with us.
Welcome and namaste. And thank you to Bruce for that introduction. No one has ever introduced me like that. That was really kind of funny. It was really funny. And then the quote too, that Susan put, and I was like, did I say that? That was funny. So, my talks are not just meant for information. I like to kind of bring the energy of presence in them. So it's more important that you get the energy and the essence of the talk, like the underlying energy, rather than the information. The information is a sort of secondary thing that's helpful to know. One good way to create presence in your meditation is to simply, you can try it with me. You can place your hands like this in front of your chest, and then you chant the word Om 3 times. And the word Om is the sound that yogis hear in the depths of their meditation. It's the sound of the cosmos itself, So everything is made of Om. It's pretty much similar to the word Amen. Notice that they're very similar. So we'll chant this one together. Taking in a deep breath. And then relax. And then notice the effect on your mind. If you can become subtle enough, you can actually feel the presence. There may be a sense of buoyancy. Buoyancy means it's like there's this flow of meditation inside you that's pushing up. And when you touch that, when you feel that, you just put all of your attention there. And the more attention you put on that feeling, the deeper it takes you. And it can get so strong that you become absorbed into the holy presence of Om. And then you become that. And that is the spiritual path in a nutshell. This is all that you need to learn. When you become that energy, when you're so absorbed into it, you can actually feel yourself everywhere and in everything. You are no longer confined by the body and the mind, the psyche, the emotions, everything that you feel is your identity. That doesn't make any sense anymore. Instead, you feel yourself as the cosmic self, a cosmic being. And it's so powerful that you could simply tune into an aspect of yourself on the other side of the universe and you'd know exactly what was going on at let's say some other planetary system. You know, because that's all you. The illusion or delusion that people live in is their personal identity, their ego. That is an illusion that's made up from your history, your personal experiences, your psychology, your past lives. All of those experiences become condensed into a person, and then you can easily lose sight of the presence. So then our role in the spiritual path is to become wide again, to not be, in a sense, so self-centered. That's why there's so many suggestions in the Bible and other places to, be kind to your neighbor, don't harm anyone, learn compassion, share, be generous, all of those. Did you notice that all of those qualities are meant to expand you instead of make you individualized? The more that you can follow through with, we'll call it selfless acts, the more you start to let go of the normal sense of self. And then the more alive the presence becomes for you. Then your decisions are made by the presence instead of you. Consider that for a moment, right? Why is our life so exhausting where we have to sleep 8 hours at night to recover? Because we're trying to manipulate the world so we can be more comfortable. These bodies and these minds, if I could only just get all of my ducks in a row, then I'll be happy. The problem is that the universe is always throwing curveballs and ruffling our feathers. We're always trying to smooth out our feathers to make sure that we're just in the right space. Then I'll meditate. Then I'll focus on God, right? After all the ducks are in a row. But you could spend your whole lifetime trying to arrange the ducks. You could. And then you never got a chance to really focus on what's important. I'm using important in a particular way. I'm not saying that people are wrong if they're not focusing on presence or God or whatever. Everyone is on their own journey and is interested in achieving something in this world, so it's not a problem. When I say important, let me put it to you in a different way. Everyone is searching for happiness, whether it's from a bottle of wine, or it's from a joint, or it's from a fine food, right? Everyone's looking for happiness. So, it's understandable. The physical world is the obvious world and easy to get pleasures. Real quick. Immediate gratification, right? But spiritual work, it takes a lot. It's like a lifetime quest. So you kind of have to be patient with the fruits. Every day working on our reactions, like I said in this quote, supposedly I said that. Allegedly. Every day watching, where am I reacting? Why am I upset at that person when there is only God? Right? We all study in religions and spiritual traditions that God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. God is omnipresent, and all these people in this room, it's only God. The building's God, the floor is God. Everything is. So then what is there to fear or get angry? You get angry at someone, you get angry at yourself. So working out those reactions bit by bit on a daily basis softens your being and you go from dense to spacious. And then when the spaciousness arises, then when you come to a talk like this, you'll be well aware of the presence. It will make a lot more sense to you because you're ripe, you're ready, you prepared. All of the mantras that I do introduce to people come from Swami Purna, my teacher. You may be able to see his picture. From there, it was kind of covered in light, so I couldn't even really see his face, but we lit a candle for him. All of the talks and gatherings are blessed by his energy, which makes them, in one way, particularly special. Particularly unique. He is a being that helps to free people from the suffering of this world, to break out of the illusion of the world. That's the only reason he was incarnated onto earth. All the rest of us, pretty much, come down onto earth wanting to, in a sense, milk it, get everything we can get from the world. A saint comes down not for him or herself, but by, in a sense, the mercy of God to assist in rescuing people from the ocean. We can call it again kind of the ocean of suffering of this world. It's not so easy, this world, just to break out. Besides the introspection of looking at our reactions each day and trying to reverse them to bring more positivity, I would say the other important thing is to sit in the presence of saints, because their teachings are invisible and rub off on you. So when Christ, let's say, speaks his sermon on the Mount, he's definitely giving information on how to live positively. But more importantly, he's bringing, you could call it, the energy of Christ consciousness into the space. He's making it holy, so people who sit around him imbibe the invisible teachings. That's the key with Christ, the invisible teachings. Now it's interesting that usually the master passes down the teachings to a disciple, and then that disciple becomes a master. You know that, right? That's called a lineage. Master passes down the energy to the disciple, that disciple passes it down to the next disciple, and you have this whole lineage of presence that's being brought down through the ages. It's interesting that Christ really didn't have a lineage. He was kind of like a one-man firework. It's interesting. But the hope is to keep the living presence of Christ alive. And you don't have to read the Bible to get that. And that may sound radical to some Christians, because the Bible is obviously very important. But you don't have to. You can simply live in the presence of Christ, and that will be your whole path. Just awaken that energy, and you are that. I'm not saying that the Bible can't be useful, because certainly, you can read passages and learn a lot of teachings from it. But again, this is not really an intellectual path. You could say it's more path of the heart. Can you feel it? So then, that's why Christ said, you can be like me and more. So you can awaken your Christ within you and become an embodiment of that, where now you are no longer located in the body and mind. You are a cosmic being. Yourself is this, not this. That's the Christ. That's why, the emphasis on Christ being killed on the cross, perhaps maybe somewhat of a like you may be pointing your mind in a direction that's not so important as the actual teachings or the presence of Christ. The body itself dies, but Christ never dies. That's a good way to put it. So then, I just wanted to introduce to you the mantra for awakening the presence of Christ in your heart, which you can use. I've found that these old mantras that were done during the time of Christ are forgotten. It's interesting, isn't it? They're forgotten. But it was in the Aramaic language. He spoke Aramaic. So people would use this mantra, which we kind of spoke before, which is Ve Ba Levi Yeshua, in my heart Christ. So you really want to make that energy powerful in your heart, you can chant that mantra. You don't have to read any texts. Just make it alive inside you. He called it the living water. When you drink of the living water, you never have to go back to the normal physical well to drink the water, because you are inwardly fulfilled. The fountain of life is just flowing through you constantly. You don't need the world anymore to be happy. That's the living water. See how symbolic that is? The water represents the physical. The woman's wants to give him some water, and he says, you might as well have asked me for the living water, and I would have given that to you. Which is the presence of the heart of Christ. Physical things come and go, but the presence of Christ is eternal. So we rely on physical things for happiness. Your happiness will end, right? It will rise and go, I'm so happy. You lose the thing, it's gone, always temporary. So focus on the living water, and then your soul becomes revealed to you, and then you're in eternal bliss. And then your body can come and go. It's okay, because you're not the body anyway. You've conquered death. That's why at the Last Supper he said, don't worry about me. I have overcome the world. Everyone else is worried about dying and death and, bloodshed and so on and so forth. If you're in Christ consciousness, that doesn't touch you. You're not in the body anymore. All the disciples and all the followers worrying. He says, don't worry, I have overcome the world. I'm beyond this world. It's powerful, right? So you chant, you just place your right hand on your heart, and then you just chant, Veba Levi Yeshua, Veba Levi Yeshua, Veba Veba Levieshwa, 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 Veba Levieshwa. And you just relax. Just note your inner world. You just glide in that energy, or soar. And that energy takes you and can take you throughout the day. And then life is so easy because, as I was saying before, that energy of presence moves you, moves your arms, your head, it moves your thoughts, it moves your emotions. Everything becomes in alignment with that energy. Clearly, you have to keep doing it to really get connected to it deeply. People say, well, it's just like a magic spell. You just chant it once and then, is that all? Is that all I have to do and then I'm there? Oh, it's a daily connection. You keep working at it. And then sooner or later, you get overwhelmed and so happy that those old desires that you used to chase after, habits, whatever it is, watching TV, watching the news, playing video games, eating donuts, all the sort of things that we get addicted to. Those things don't make any sense anymore. You don't want those. You don't need them to be happy. Your presence is too strong. That's how desires fall away. Desires are distractions from the Lord. We're chasing after something other than God. That's why when we sit down and meditate and our thoughts go all around, they're going towards desires. What am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to do tomorrow? How is my daughter or son doing? All the thoughts, all the desires. When all of those are gone, you're emptied completely. You become an empty cup. Then you can be filled by the presence of the Lord. And they call that freedom. Why? Because working by your ego is hard work, and working with presence is easy. How he said, my yoke is easy. The burden, so to speak. Because it does everything for you. You're no longer the doer. The doer is the illusion. We think that we're somehow independent from God and doing all this stuff and moving and speaking. This is me. Everything that's being done right now is God. We think we're in a room somewhere listening to a talk and we're going to become spiritual. All that illusion, delusion. All of it is the workings of God, one infinite being. There's no me and God somewhere on some cloud, or me and a saint who is God. There is only the one. So before I conclude, we'll do the mantra one more time for invoking Christ, and that way you can get it into your system. So if you decide you like it, and you like to chant it alone, have the more sense of it, because that's a key thing. In a way, it's kind of like an initiation, where now that the energy is percolating through your system knows where to find it. It's got a touch-in point. Do you see what I mean by that? And then when you chant the mantra, it'll be easier to, there it is, I got it. And then you meditate upon that presence. Key practice to developing this energy in your life. So we, again, place in our right hand over our heart. If you like, you can also imagine Christ. If you don't have an image for Christ, actually there's a picture of Christ right there on the wall. You've probably seen that one many times. But just try to visualize him as clearly as you can in your heart. We chant together. Vipa Levi Yeshua. 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 And so, thank you so much for having me here, inviting me, and in a way I feel like it's a homecoming. I wanted to express my appreciation to Bruce for really taking the time to read and get to know me and remember. I'm very honored that he did that, actually. It's very sweet. And my wish is that this congregation, people who come here, may be blessed by the energy each time they attend here in this space, that they may be in communion and connection to the presence of Christ, or Veba Levi Yeshua.